Is May 2nd. It is actually warm finally outside. It has been a long time. We've had a cold start to the spring, and the real estate sales have kind of reflected a kind of a slower, less urgent market environment. And what we're starting to see now is as the heat starts to come in, I'm very curious to see if the market will also pick up as well. If you take a look at the market stats, which we're going to talk about right now, I'll show you in a bit what things sold for compared to last year. But first, let's start off with how many active listings we have. So this number hasn't changed a whole lot in the last month or so since I started doing this a few months ago. The numbers aren't really changing a whole lot. So in Edmonton, we change about from 50 to 100 new listings. So we're sitting still really low. We're at 2,751 versus 2,800 last week. In St. Albert, we're just sitting at 170, Sherwood Park 82, and Spruce Grove 168. So you can see not a huge change. There was some action moving in Spruce Grove. You can see that they have a little less active listings, and you'll see here in a second that they were the stronger market of the one, two, three, four that I've been talking about. So in Spruce Grove, pending sales, we had 43 pending sales in the last week. That's the highest they've been in a while, compared to last week at 22. So they pretty much doubled. And what that means is we had more listings go pending, more offers being written, and it offset the pending offers becoming sold. So we had so many new activity in Spruce Grove. Sherwood Park was also at 41 versus 36 last week. Small nominal increase. St. Albert at 40 to 35. You can see everyone is kind of all three areas are experiencing similar motion in pending sales. In Edmonton, we're sitting at 530 over 491. So we also saw an increase in Edmonton as well. And what does that mean? It's because it's spring market and things are finally starting to move. If you want to move right now, if you write an offer right now and you remove conditions in a week or two, you're likely moving in June, end of June, early July, which is the perfect timing for people when they have got kids in school. So that's a huge reason why as well. And with the sold in the last 7 days, you have 207 in Edmonton, so nothing crazy in St. Albert, Sherwood Park, and Spruce Grove. All of the solds are very similar to what they were last week. And like I said last week, the pending deals go sold and then they become sold. So what you want to look at is pending in terms of what's actually moving and happening in the last 7 days. This just shows you potential deals that might have fallen apart or have gone through. So it's staying pretty consistent, nothing too crazy there. So if you compare to last year, this is what's interesting. Our market started to change quite a bit last year around this time. The market started to slow down substantially from the crazy business we saw at the beginning part of the first 3 months in Edmonton. However, this year's Edmonton has been a lot slower, and it's starting to pick up in April and May, which is a normal spring market. Even though that being said, the market's still quite slow moving. So as a seller, you want to be careful with the pricing that you're putting in. And as a buyer, you have more choices, but still not that many because there's still very little to choose from. Now, if you take a look at last year, Edmonton had 207 sales this year at this week, but the same week last year was 392. So we're still a little bit stronger. I think it starts to go down in about 2 or 3 weeks, and we'll start to see the numbers starting to even out. And if it evens out, it means that our market in this last few months is very similar to what we were last summer. And that's what I've been saying all along, is that I feel like this market feels like a summer market, not a spring market. Not talking about the weather, but talking about the pace and the lack of urgency. In St. Albert, 20 versus 39. Sherwood Park had more. We had 41 this year at this time of year versus 34 last week. So Sherwood Park, like I said before, is always a really strong market. So is it a good time to sell and buy in Sherwood Park? I always say it always is. It's a very strong market. You're investing in a really good market there. And in Spruce Grove, we had 43 sales in the last week versus 31 last year. So Spruce Grove is seeing a stronger market right now than they did last year at this time. Just Edmonton and St. Albert are not doing as well as they did last year, which is quite typical. And Sherwood Park doing really well and better than last year. That's not a surprise to me. The surprise here is Spruce Grove, because that market is starting to move. Now, some of my suspicions of why Spruce is maybe moving more now than the rest. Spruce Grove is more affordable than Sherwood Park and St. Albert and in parts of Edmonton. Spruce Grove definitely has more of those affordable properties. You can get more for your money. So I can see why people are starting to move westward. If you're looking at West Edmonton, why don't you just drive a little bit further to Spruce Grove? It's not that far. So in terms of why pending sales have been moving quicker and more this year or this last week as well. I also think it's because of the fact that interest rates have finally stabilized and buyers finally are getting accustomed to it. And some sellers are understanding the reality of the market and not overpricing. So things are starting to move, and I think we're going to start to see that trend continue. So as a seller and a buyer, you're going to have more opportunities in May. I think in June it'll probably start to slow down a little bit more, because we haven't really picked up. I think it might just stay consistent potentially for the next month or two. But that being said, I think with sellers, the market is still slowly declining. So if you overvalue your house and you expect that in a few months you can adjust your price down to what was initially told to you, it likely is going to be less than what was initially told to you, because the market is slowly price wise declining in markets like Edmonton, because we're still seeing less sales than we even were last year. And last year, the market was stabilizing in terms of price because of the sales. Sherwood Park, when you see that demand there, where it's got 41 sales versus 34 last year, and you've got less inventory and you've got similar inventory than last year, but more sales, that pricing in Sherwood Park is probably rising, probably not going down. And in Spruce Grove, it's probably a balanced market as well. They're starting to normalize there. They're seeing more sales in there, so it might creep up, but I don't think it's going to creep up because it is Spruce Grove that quickly. It'll take some time. But in St. Albert and Edmonton, I think they're both similar in terms of you got to be careful. You got to make sure you price it. I mean, in any house correctly. But buyers, if you're looking and wondering if this is the time to buy right now, you definitely want to. If you're in Sherwood Park, you got to remember you need to be competitive. In the other areas in Spruce Grove, it's starting to become competitive. So you got to make sure you understand the market and the house specifically that you're looking at. Edmonton and St. Albert, you've got opportunity. Now, opportunity in the sense of there's not a whole lot of inventory to buy. So take a look at that and figure out what makes the most sense. If you have questions, like always, just send me a DM. I am going to be doing a full market stats update for all of April here right away. So make sure you stay tuned, but I'll be back again next Tuesday. Have a great day.